Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 3 fragrances that I tried in May. So stay tuned for that. If you like top 10 lists, fragrance reviews, cologne comparisons, and first impressions, hit that subscribe button for more great content. Now, May was a bit of a slow month for me. I didn't do too many videos, took a little bit of a break, and I didn't try too many fragrances, but I did definitely try some out. There were some in there that I really did enjoy. And there were a few that I wasn't a big fan of, and I think I'm going to add one to the list every month from now on, and that's the fragrance that was the most disappointing, or that I just disliked the most, or the least favorite out of all the ones that I tried. And I'm going to start doing that this month. The first one I'm going to talk about, or rather the dishonorable mention, if you want to think about it that way, is Viking Cologne. Now, if you watch the channel, you know I'm a pretty big fan of Viking. You know, I did try or wear it again the other day. And, you know, I really enjoy it. It has this nice cooling, minty, spicy vibe with this nice modern barbershop character to it. And it does have a nice added bit of depth with the rose. It actually has a lot of character, a lot of robustness. Now, Viking Cologne, on the other hand, is in some ways a lighter version. I still get that pink pepper, cooling, minty kind of vibe, even though mint isn't in it, in the opening, that I do associate with Viking quite a bit. So it does have that, although lighter. It does have a really nice orange note, really great orange note, although it doesn't last very long. And it does have a little bit of lavender too. And I actually don't mind the opening. It's really kind of nice, and were it for the fact that if I didn't dislike the dry down so much, might really like this. Now for me, sometimes I find cedar on my skin, especially in the dry down, really wears kind of funny. Very generic smelling, just smells like a very generic perfumey smell. And so this one has a decent enough opening where if the dry down was quite good as well, I probably would really enjoy the fragrance. But I get that very generic perfumey smell in the dry down, and that dry down phase lasts 3 to 4 hours. So, you know, for me, ultimately it ends up being a pass because of that. You know, maybe the cedar wears a little bit differently on your skin, and if that's the case, you might actually really like the fragrance. Like I said, in some sense, it is a bit of a lighter, fresher version of Viking. And so, you know, if you wanted something a little bit toned down, it might also work, because I find Viking can be very punchy in the opening. But that is one of the things I like about it. So that's the dishonorable mention. I'm going to get right into the list now. Top 3 that I tried. First one, roasted green tea. Really enjoyed this one. This one was quite the surprise. It opens up, you know, with this little bit of sweetness. Reminds me a little bit of, it feels a little bit like a sweet nuttiness. And it has this vibe that reminds me a lot of like a frothy matcha. Which, to be honest with you, is kind of what I was expecting from another release from Maison Martin Margiela. I totally forget the name now, but it's a tea fragrance that they just released, green tea. But to me, that one comes off extraordinarily floral, not very tea-like. This one has a really sort of frothy matcha opening that I really was thinking that one would have, but it doesn't. So in some ways, this is the fragrance that I thought that one was going to be. And you know, as it dries down, it becomes more of a green tea than a matcha, which is actually really nice. And it does have that really chill property that I find a lot of tea fragrances do have. So it is a really nice one. And if you like tea, absolutely check that one out. It's worth checking out as a tea fragrance. Probably not my favorite. I think my favorite still is Oolong Cha, but this one is really nice. Has a nice, sweet, nutty kind of dimension to it that is really enjoyable. And the next one is Awake by Acro. Now this one, I'm going to have to do a fragrance comparison with Kerosene Follow. You know, there are aspects of this fragrance in the opening that do kind of remind me a little bit of that fragrance. This is a really nice coffee fragrance. Comes across a little bit like maybe a Colombian coffee in the opening. There is a little bit of a sweet vibe to it, but I don't think it goes quite in the same direction that Follow does. They do open up semi-similar, but differently. And I think Awake ends up going in quite a different direction. So they are definitely distinct coffee fragrances, but in terms of, you know, which one is the true best of the best coffee fragrance, I think I'd have to really reach and find out. I will say that the performance on Awake, at least from when I tried it, is much better than Follow. I'm going to have to, like I said, do a side-by-side comparison just to really be sure of that. But I did get really strong performance from Awake, really strong projection, good longevity to 8+ hours, but again, I'm going to have to check those ones out side by side. Really sort it out and really see which one's better, but fantastic coffee fragrance if you're looking for something that is literally a coffee fragrance. Not just a coffee note, but a coffee fragrance. Awake, absolutely must try that one out. Definitely worth the sample for sure. Next one, new release by Xerjoff, that is Decass. And this is kind of, some people describe this one as, you know, spring summer Naxos. And it is actually in the same line as Naxos. And I definitely see how they're related. You know, it does have a little bit of this property in it where it does definitely remind me a little bit of kind of a honeyed tobacco, which is definitely something that Naxos has going for it. There is this sweetness, although it's much more airy and light, even though it is actually pretty strong and quite the projector. It's not thick, is what I guess I mean to say. It's not really heavy fragrance. It definitely projects, people can smell it, but it's not overwhelming or very thick and rich as the way Naxos is. Tobacco also very strong in that one. I actually find the tobacco note is the strongest note in that fragrance. A nice dry tobacco, nothing too fancy about it. Probably a little bit closer to like a pipe tobacco, I guess. But you know, in some ways it is a lighter Naxos, but it definitely doesn't smell like Naxos. And you know, I personally probably wouldn't have thought of Naxos trying that out if it weren't for the fact that it saw other people making that comparison. So it was one where it was more like, you know, they're both tobacco fragrances, but certainly they don't. And there's some overlap, but to me, they don't smell the same. They definitely do smell distinct and different. And I suppose, it's definitely a spring fragrance. If it's a really hot day in the summer, I probably wouldn't wear it myself. But it probably could be pulled off in the summer as well. And that was actually the list, guys. I totally lost track of how many I was doing. Top 3, there it is. Excellent fragrances in my opinion. You know, I'm personally not trying to buy any fragrances right now, so I'm probably not going to pick any of them up. But, you know, when I run out of follow, I might consider getting Awake as a nice replacement. And you know, when I finish Naxos, I could consider getting Decass. I don't know if I would pick up roasted green tea myself, just because if I was going to get a tea fragrance, I think it would be Oolong Cha. But anyways, guys, that is my list. Leave a comment down below. What fragrances did you try last month in May? Was there anything that you tried out that was really amazing? Anything that was, you know, really not actually worth it after you tried it? Or was there just any fragrances that you personally would recommend that I try out, either from Acro or from Xerjoff? Let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Gonna end it there. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.